Well, thank you again. I'm going to do this. Look at you and also up here. Next slide, please. So this is about valuable, effective AEAS for a dynamic, market-oriented agriculture sector. And for me, the question was about how do we make extension have maybe economic sense and recognizable. Can move on again. So just to say, we know that agriculture is a dominant economic contributor, and Uganda looks at it as a growth opportunity. And for many years, in our national planning plans, they've always pointed to agriculture, including increasing production, market access, and value addition. And even in the upcoming plan, what we call NDP 4, again, agriculture is being brought in. However, the sector, as all of us will appreciate, requires a lot of changes and improvements from time to time. Next, please. I also want to remind us that we have a vision of a transformed society from a peasant to a modern, prosperous country. Now, for me, when they mention the word peasant, I quickly go to the farmer as the peasant. So our planners want to see us move away from being peasant farmers to a prosperous economy. And there are two things that they've planned to help us to achieve that vision. Apparently, the first one is about agro-industrialization, where the whole countryside will be full of agro-industries. We are producing value-added products for Ugandans to consume, but also for regional markets also, as well as international markets to consume. That we have more money coming in, we can live better from increased incomes. Now, also please remember that we still have 39% of Ugandans considered living below the poverty line. And so government again has wanted to pick them up, and in that process, also presenting agriculture. So agriculture for agro-industrialization, and then agriculture for helping people get out of poverty, which means that there's going to be a lot of concerted investment to make sure we achieve these goals. And there's a lot of work for us in extension, certainly research, and in many, many other fields. I should also mention, thank you, that certainly you all know that we've moved away from just emphasizing produce more. We've had stories where people were told to grow moringa and there was no market to sell it. Stories where people have been told to grow maize and there's no market to sell it. So right now, personally, I believe markets first. Any project that I do, I want to first of all be sure there is a market before I tell farmers to do anything or even invest into technology that I might be promoting. Now, what that means that now we have to think, all of us, across the entire value chain. Next, please. And so we have to think about inputs, farm inputs. I know this is, to you it is relatable. We have to think about the farm production or operations. We have to think about any value addition. In this case, we are producing milk and beef. You have to think about marketing and consumption. Next. You also have to, we need to be reminded that despite government opening up, expand availability of extension services to help us with those new demands. Because now extension has not only to look at production. Please, if it's possible with you and you have market-oriented farmers, think about market first and then introduce all your technologies. Make sure you've secured the market. And now, but I also bear in mind that we have what we call food security farmers, isn't it? Those ones you don't have to ask about the market. Please look at what they are producing, help them produce more. But we must also recognize, just back a little bit, that government therefore has opened up for both public and private sector to do extension along the value chain. However, despite that opening up, the reach to farmers has not yet improved that much. We have 3 to 5 million smallholder farmers, but they say that only 3% of whom are commercial. They also say that out of these 3 to 5 million, we are only reaching between 10 and 20%. So the rest are living life without really concerted extension guidance. Maybe nowadays on social media and stuff. We know the farmer ratio 1 to 2,000. Some people talk about 1 to 1,800. So we still have a situation of limited access to information, technology, agribusiness services, and we still therefore have a continuous cycle of low production, low productivity, low market participation in some areas. There are some areas who have moved away from that. You find that they are putting a lot of effort in their production systems. They're really market-oriented, except that for some of those, again, household nutrition is down because everything is for sale, and that too becomes an extension message of concern. So, yet, the agricultural market space, so the demand for food, has become more dynamic. Demand for food, demand for fiber, but also the operations required are so dynamic in this way. One, globalization. Of course, I'm not saying this in a wrong way, but globalization has opened the borders. You can see trucks from countries around, even in the villages there, because of globalization. That means our farmers and all of us are in this dynamic as well, because now we are competing both with neighbors, countries from China, Pakistan, and wherever, because they are free to bring their goods here as much as we are free to sell to them. That's a dynamic. Another dynamic is the value chains are increasing. Right now, NADS, which is, by the way, represented up here, please make sure you visit their booth, are promoting macadamia, they're promoting avocado. There's a lot of effort on oil seed. So what I'm talking about here is that the crops and livestock which require new attention have also expanded. Besides that, urbanization, the whole country is being urbanized, isn't it? So again, that's a dynamic. Another dynamic, export requirements are becoming stricter. We have a representative from UCDA. She may stand again for recognition. Asante sana for coming. She will be sharing about the European Union deforestation regulation, where we are no longer supposed to export coffee to Europe from a farm or a place that was originally a forest. Now, while people are complaining that government is taking away UCDA, there's also pressure from EU for us not to sell. That's another dynamic. There's also a dynamic where it comes to increased access to information and misinformation. That's a dynamic. Climate change is a dynamic. Reducing land sizes is a dynamic. Inflation is a dynamic. Wars are a dynamic. The push for agri-systems Professor has talked about agri-food system. Do you people know what agri-food system is? I believe you do in some way. They are saying, let us think now as extension workers, what happens from the farm, what people eat. That's why Professor Kaya was here. We must interest ourselves in that. So thinking about all that is a dynamic. Government policies that are changing and coming up is also another dynamic. So what does this mean next? Means that, next, sir? That the demand for quality and impactful agriculture extension and advisory services is important. I think we need to specialize almost the way Dr. Isiko judged himself and repackaged himself. I will need more specialized services moving forward. Now, that diagram there, first of all, shows that there's a flow of market information about orders and preferences. And I know people behind may not be able to see, but the arrow moving from your right to the left shows that as extension workers, we must know what the market needs. Mr. Mayambala here, I believe he is. Can he stand up for recognition? Okay, he has stepped out. Talks about, as an extension worker, think about backward linkages, meaning where is this crop going to be sold, so that I receive that information and guide the farmer. Then after that, the opposite of backward is what? Then think about send now the seed, the technologies, and produce. So we must be educated about the information across all those stages, what is required at retail, at processing, at transport, producers' inputs, but then also we push by sending the right products. Next. So given all of that, how do we enhance the value of extension, advisory services, a market-oriented situation? So I have 3 ideas. One of them is that let's ensure that we are visible. Can you say with me, visible? Okay, so when I come in front before you, I must make sure that I'm dressed smart. But today I don't think I'm dressed to kill. Sometimes I want to dress to kill. Just joking. Some of you are good at that, so that you are visible and presentable. Okay? So colleagues, on a serious note, how do we enhance? 1, we need to make extension what? Visible. And that maybe will solve the problem of the way we are being looked at as maybe dispensable, and people don't appreciate our value. The second thing is that, what is the second point? Help me, please. We must provide evidence. Must provide evidence that we are doing something. And I want to salute the ministry, which introduced first of all, there was a diary on paper, which moved on to the e-diary. I remember finding an extension worker asking people to sign to prove that he had visited them. I think that's important evidence, though sometimes it's not easy to start getting used to. But we need evidence that will deal with the threat of being regarded as dispensable. You'll have evidence that have reached 1,000 people. You'll have evidence that they've changed from point A to B or to Z. And it will also deal with the problem of lack of data. People don't want to support extension. They are tossing it around because we do not have data. But I tend to think that some organizations here have the data. That data is not being shared. Those stories are not being shared. Now, the last point, can we read the last point together, number 3? I'm not so much wired for business, but I think I need to push myself. Some of you are. I think let's try and be more entrepreneurial. That too might enhance our visibility, our relevance, the way Dr. Isiko challenged us. And we have no choice. We have to do these three, or at least two out of the three, or one out of the three. You and I have no choice. You think we have a choice? I don't think so. Next, please. So when it comes to making your AES visible, we must now get used to documenting and publicizing. How many of you are on X, former Twitter? Please raise your hand. Now, people, there's no lunch today until you are on Twitter. Please help me do that. Why? It's one of the channels for making yourself visible. May I ask again, how many of you seriously are on WhatsApp? Don't fear. We are just brothers. Okay, that's good. Before the day ends, don't send pictures of dancing babies, what. Send pictures that I'm in the extension week. Are we together? I think also we sent some links of pictures. Also, send it to your friends. Tell the cameraman, take a picture of me. There's something Liz designed. Where is it? It shows that sending the extension, make yourself visible. Even pictures there with your farmers. Are we together? That's making yourself visible. Number two, you can even collect voices of farmers who are talking about the transformation you've contributed to them. Okay? You can also, of course, use social media, as I've mentioned. We have a culture nowadays that we have started. We must bring the media houses. If we do not, no one will know. You see that? Okay, so you should have your picture now. Cameraman, can you take some? Each of you must pose in that thing before lunch, or at least before end of Friday, okay? And send home. Send to your cow. Send to your bosses. Last night I sent to my people back at Makerere, tell them that I'm here. So promote and reward based on levels of publicity. Madam Cow, I want to say, don't give them allowance until they've shown that they are visible. Okay, they are in the local news, local radio, posters, newspapers around. We must be visible. That's a proposal subject to council. Then next, please. You can also go to radio, television. In terms of evidence, before agriculture extension or advisory service provision, before you start your service, I'm proposing, first of all, determine, does the farmer have what it takes to farm? I know this is extra work. Sometimes we assume that by giving an idea or a practice to farmer, the conditions for farming are there, but are they always there? Don't they put your seedlings on the side and they dry up or eat the seeds? I'm suggesting that maybe we could take an extra effort and say, Dr. Miiro, before I farm, yes, it is not. If you can tell me, then go and buy this and this that you are prepared. If I'm totally unable, then give me guidance based on where I am and with what I have. Then the second point, advise on how the factors that can be accessed, I mean what they need to produce, you can advise. Number three, have performance indicators for extension work, including the conditions to ensure your work is done properly. If you go to do extension and there is no fuel, there is no seeds, you say, Madam Cow, I did my work, but this and this were not available. Let it be on record and in data. I'm just proposing, because that's evidence. Other than people are choosing you that you didn't do your work, yet certain conditions. Just like the farmer has to have seed, you too have to have certain things in. Are we still together? The last bullet is deliver extension service based on established performance indicators and working conditions. Those of you who employ us, give us performance indicators, but also give us the tools and resources we need. Don't give us what to do without working conditions. Next, about finish. Package evidence for institution and district planning. All that information should help in decision making. By the way, we are talking about data-driven decision making. Data. Say with me, data. That's why we are going to have to use even AI, because it can help you know where you were, what you did at the end of the day. And you have data. So, aim at showing the contribution of extension. If someone is eating 3 meals a day, can we map out what your contribution was to that output? Review and evaluate performance. We must always evaluate ourselves. What is not evaluated will never improve. Can I hear you say that again? So don't fear to be evaluated. You should also not fear. Then also discuss the reasons for why you did very well and reasons why you did not do so well. Adjust accordingly and reward good performance. Madam Cow, reward good performance. Reward good performance. Next, and I think that's the last. This one I didn't think a lot, but I just brought Dr. Isiko's picture to remind you that we can be business-oriented, and that will make extension visible. Forgive me, I now have taken a little bit of time. That's the end of my story.